guys, welcome back to the show. This is episode 3 of Geek Yourself, where we talk about anything from DIY projects to information technology, talk about laptops, PCs, talk about phones, software, hardware, anything you guys want to talk about, we do. I am your tech guy, so my discussion for the most part is based around technology, and I have a short show really lined up for you tonight that deals primarily with computer specifications, right? And I'm doing this because I know that after this, a lot of people will be shopping around for different laptops and computers, and so they may it might become a daunting task for some people, right? So we're going to first take a look at computer specifications and what we mean by that, right? So I want to show you something quickly, and I'll pull it up on screen that I'm sure that most of you guys will be doing over the next couple of weeks. So I just went on Amazon and I typed in laptop because I know this is what people will look for, right? And I'm looking at all this, and we can see a whole bunch of different gadgets or a whole bunch of different laptop with some brand and graphic processor and graphic card type and what they all mean. This is what we want to look at tonight so that you know what to purchase, right? Some and I'm doing this simply because a lot of people will ask somewhere along the way, you know what, is this a good computer? Is this a bad computer, right? Is this worth it? And that's most of the time the questions that I get. So I just type in laptop on Amazon, and we have a bunch of these popping up. So I'll take one, and for us, we're if we're looking if we're looking for a laptop primarily for working, schoolwork, you know, you do a little bit of Excel, you do a little bit of Word, you do a little bit of database processing, you want to watch some movies, you want to be able to browse, right? Then for sure, then most people will end up choosing the laptops that are on the cheaper side, right? And something that is really affordable. So I'll take one of those and I'll break it down, and then we'll see if we can come back to one of the other ones and then give a comparison for those different machines. So most of the time our price range is somewhere around 349. People will definitely click on that, and then the questions begin. So they ask, all right, is this a good laptop? And then we have to answer all of those questions based on what the specifications is. So looking at all this, if you're not too familiar with um, laptops or with computers, you'll get confused and you'll say, ah, this is too much for me. And you'll have somebody else pick it for you, right? So we're going to break it down. So first of all, the brand here that we're looking at is our Acer Aspire. Um, so it is 15.6-inch screen. Now this 15.6-inch is the size of the screen from here diagonally to here, right? So that is how that 15.6 is measured. So it's not measured going horizontally or going vertically. It is measured diagonal. So that's the first thing. 15.6-inch full HP high definition display. The processor type, and that is what this is. That's your processor type. It's AMD Ryzen. Now, for the most part, when it comes to purchasing a laptop or a desktop machine, or depending on what task you're looking to have it complete, the processor is what is really, really important. Now, we look at, well, there was primarily two different processor manufacturers. There was AMD, and then there is Intel, right? Those are the two leaders. I know as of recently, another processor manufacturer came into effect. I think they used the RISC architecture, and that's ARM, right? So they started to do processor as well. I can tell you from experience that for the most part, I normally would prefer a computer with the Intel processors, simply because Intel processors were some of the fastest processors available in terms of getting work done. A computer like this with an AMD Ryzen, let me bring it back on screen, right? AMD Ryzen, the AMDs are great computers, are great processors for hard work. So if you're playing games, if you want to do some AutoCAD, right? If you want to do some graphics editing, if you want to do some video editing, I would recommend AMD. AMD processors essentially handle a lot more load in terms of the amount of work they can get done. So AMD Ryzen is one of the newer lines of AMD processors, and those are really, really nice processors. So definitely recommended a machine or a laptop with an AMD Ryzen processor normally determines the price, right? So the graphics has to do with the graphic card that is built in. Again, if you're the type of person who is just typing out, you just want this thing for browsing the internet, right? Or for just typing out some documents, then you really don't have to worry about the type of graphic card. The default that comes on the motherboard might be good enough for you. But if you're into gaming, if you want to have the dual monitor for laptops are given, right? So you can have a dual monitor also. Then you will look for something in line of and maybe an NVIDIA card built into your computer, right? And so we'll take a look at some of those afterwards. 4 gigs of RAM, right? And this is 4 gigabytes of DDR4 memory. Now, the DDR4 memory is, again, this is the newer memory. So we were at DDR2, DDR3. You'll find in most machines or most laptops or computers right now. And so this is saying that now we have DDR4, right? And so it is a faster memory. 4 gigs of RAM is pretty decent. I would recommend that you'll get a machine with more RAM. And so, but because of the price range, and this is what you pay for, right? When you think about memory for your computer, you want a larger amount of memory. And let me tell you how memory works. So you have your processor on one end, and I probably should pull up a diagram, right? You have your processor on one end, and then you have your storage, which is your hard drive. And so they are talking back and forth to each other. In between that, there is main memory, right? Now, main memory speaks to processor first, right? Or processor speaks to main memory first and then to hard drive. So when you have 4 gigabytes of memory, that's the amount of data that it's holding. And so it's constantly writing out data and talking to the processor itself. So if you have a larger amount of memory, let's say you have double that, you have 8 gigs of memory, 8 gigs of RAM, then it'll definitely make your computer work a little bit faster because then it's retrieving data from hard drive and bringing it closer to processor for talking, right? Another part to this that that I don't see here is that some processors, and we'll have to do some research in this, also brings a cache built onto it. So some processors bring a cache, and a cache is kind of like just a specialized memory again, but it's so close to the processor that it allows or it makes your computer seems to work a little bit faster, right? So we've covered the size of the screen, so the 15.6 inch that is the size of the screen diagonally, right? Also, the processor or the AMD Ryzen is the processor that is built into your computer. And I mentioned that these come in normally now in 2 types, but there are 3 now: AMD, Intel, and ARM, right? And then we have our DDR4, which is our main memory, right, or RAM. The 128 gigabyte SSD is your solid state drive. So solid state drive, 128 gigabyte. It's not a lot of storage space, right? So this is what your storage space will be on your computer. Now keep in mind that we are used to getting in a terabyte of storage. So we're used to a lot of storage because we store a lot of movies. We do store a lot of videos. We store a lot of songs, right? And if we're into other stuff, then we want that amount of storage. Now with solid state drive being 128, that might just be enough for your operating system itself. But remember that solid state drive, they work faster and they're far more reliable than the spinning drives, right? So while 128 may look like a small capacity, we can still make use of that for the installation of our um, operating system. Next thing there we look at is the backlit keyboard. Has a little light under the keyboard. Windows 10. Windows 10 is what? Let me see if you guys here in the comments can tell me what is Windows 10. So between King Zahiro, Aiden, and King Ev, let's give them something to do. What is Windows 10? What is Windows 10? I think they're lost, right? But Windows 10 is your operating system, right? It is your operating system for your computer. So the the computer that you're buying will come with Windows 10 now. That's our main operating system. It's Windows, Microsoft. Apart from that, you might have other operating systems like Linux or Unix that can be used or that may come on your particular PC, right? Now, Windows 10 in S mode means that it's in secure mode. Um, so if you want to purchase anything, or if you want software for your laptop, you'll have to go through the actual store from Microsoft. And so Windows 10 S mode, most people will want to take that off if they want to install something else on your laptop or a third-party software, right? And then everything else is just has to do with the model number, right, for the machine. So that's a pretty decent breakdown for what your machine will look like. Price tag 359 US. Again, if you wanted more memory or a better processor, right, then it means that you're paying a little bit more. So let's change the processor type. Notice I changed from a AMD Ryzen 3 to a AMD Ryzen 7, and look what happened to the price. The price doubled, right? The price doubled just because of the price of the processor. So a Ryzen 5 might be around 5, right? Not available. All right. So the Ryzen 7 is just newer processor from AMD. Now let's see if we can change anything else. Some of the specs. Yeah, nice slim laptop, right? Open as well. Good. Let's look at one of the other ones you mentioned earlier, at a different price range. So let's look at this one. Actually, I saw the Alienware and that is crazy expensive. Right? So notice this one now. This is a Dell XPS 13.3 inch. So it's it's a smaller machine. Looks big in picture, right? Um, it has nice high definition graphics that you'll be looking at. Core i5 is the processor type, and that's Intel, right? And Core i5, well, anything that you're looking at from Core i3 to me is a pretty decent processor that you can use for the regular day's work, right? So Core i3, Core i5, Core i7, Core i9, and the i9, of course, are more expensive processors, right? And have more cores to work with, so you're doing much more processing at one time. Look at the number of RAM that it has, though, right? 8 gigs of RAM. So again, the one I looked at earlier only had 4 gigs of RAM compared to this. So 8 gigs of RAM means that your machine will be processing that 8 gigs of data a little bit faster, right? And remember, RAM is volatile, and so it means that it's constantly erasing and writing data. This one comes with a 256 gig solid state drive, right? So again, solid state drive. These are they have no movable parts. It works like a flash drive, right? But 256 gig again is pretty small. So if you're looking for large storage space, then you would want a larger one. I know solid state drive now, you can get over a terabyte in solid state drive, but I don't know the availability for us in the Caribbean. But um, for US, I know that they are available and it's pretty cheap. I think somebody said it was like 10 cents per gig, right? But for us, it's different. We're probably paying $10 per gig. But on average, it's normally $1 a gig for us. So again, look at that price range, right? But a pretty decent laptop, right? But pricey. Now, why would you want a laptop like this over a laptop like the first one you mentioned? Simply because one, you can afford it, and two, you want the power, right? And so if you're looking for all the power um, to do work, right, or for entertainment, then you can afford all the power, then do so. Now, things to look for when you're purchasing. One, we said, look at the size of the screen, right? That's for what you're comfortable with. So if you're one of those person who like large laptops, I know most of the females they like small laptops because they can just push it into the bags and roll, right? So size of the screen, you're looking at processor type, and AMD and Intel, those are both good processors. The only Intel I don't recommend that you get is the Intel Celeron. Intel Celeron are pretty cheap processors, and so just to do the basic task on your computer, the Celeron processors take a lick. And so when you buy a machine that you see Intel Celeron processor on it, be ready for problems. Be ready to get frustrated, right? Even when you're browsing, the processor is just crappy, but it's cheap. It's on those cheaper end processors. So if you see a machine for 100 and something US, I can bet it will have an Intel Celeron processor in there, right? And I don't think they're making much of those anyway right now. So anything from i3, i5, i7, i9 will make for decent processors for whatever task you want to complete. Also, then we can look at RAM, right, or random access memory or main memory. You want to make sure that your main memory is up. I would recommend anything from 8 gigabytes up, right? So if you are purchasing a machine and you see something with 8 gigabytes and you see something with 16 gigabytes, man, go for the one with the 16 if it's affordable, right? Again, you don't want to overpay for some of these, but um, think about the upgrade factor also, right? If you want to upgrade your machine at some point, some of them are built on now to the board, and so some of them can't upgrade. So when you're purchasing, look for 8 gigs up in terms of random access memory, right? And of course, your hard drive size. You want to make sure that the hard drive has a capacity that you want. If not, you can always purchase an external hard drive. And I'm looking around for my own, right? Because I do want to talk about something else for you tonight. But I'll take a quick break and I'll be right back. All right. So before we left off, I was mentioning the hard drive. And so if you don't have if you're not satisfied with the hard drive size, and of course, if you're looking at solid state drives as a part of running out your operating system, then you will want to purchase a external, right, hard drive. Now, these normally looks like this. This one is actually not a hard drive, not an external hard drive. It is an external bay, right? What it means is that because I have so much old hard drives lying around from my previous computer, maybe that was spoiled, I can still purchase an external bay, and this is how the inside looks, right? And I can take my old hard drive from my machine and I can place it inside of this external bay. And I don't know where the cover is because I keep using them. And then, of course, then this becomes my external hard drive, right? Now, these sell for about, the bay itself sell for about $50, right? And the hard drive for us normally is around $170, $180 Belize. Um, so it is almost cheaper that you buy both of them, right? Instead of buying an external drive. So you can always reuse your drive by purchasing an external bay that this goes into, And again, this is for laptop hard drives. And if you're looking at desktop hard drives, they also sell a external bay for that so that you can have an external drive. One of the other things I do recommend is the use of, if you have a small network running at home, there are some network devices that can be used to store data. Let me see if I find those. I think they're called NAS devices, right? Yeah, so they do have some NAS devices that you can purchase, right? And look how cheap these are. Anyway, so you can buy maybe a 2 terabyte home office storage that can be used. You place it on your network, and then everybody else can connect to it. It comes with security features already, so that people can log in, and then they can have their own access to their files, right? And 2 terabytes for a home storage is pretty good. These are pretty easy to set up. I actually want to go through a couple of setup with you afterwards, but you can choose larger storage. So notice that there's 4 terabytes or above, right? And have multiple access to these over the network. So let's say you have several people in the household and you want them to be able to store maybe data for or pictures or whatever, they can automatically set a backup that will write to these devices right through. And in case of natural disasters or anything, then the only thing you really need to worry about is your data, right? And so this is the only thing you would really grab, right? So know that these are also available as opposed to having the smaller style. Of course, these are so small that you can put it in your pocket and move around, right? Now, the recommendation for these, um, again, that I have for you is not to use a spinning disc inside of them simply because you will somehow drop this or drop the drive itself and then cause damage to the drive. So go ahead and use some solid state drive like these, right? So these you can drop and push around, they're like flash drives. They're very, very light, right? And of course the storage can be the same, but the price factor is a little bit different. Good. All right, so that's your network storage. Right? So take a little break and I'll be right back, guys. All right. Apart from that, somebody had asked a question about installation of various operating system on one PC. So they were interested in knowing about Unix and Linux because they have been hearing all of these different terms and wanted to try it out for free. Try them out on one machine so they don't have to purchase another machine in order to get the operating system running. To do that, one of the software I do recommend is Oracle VirtualBox. And what VirtualBox does, let me just click on it and get to their page. VirtualBox is a virtualization product, meaning that I can install VirtualBox on my computer and have it run another operating system or several operating systems on your computer, keeping in mind that you're sharing resources, right, from your main PC. So I can be running Windows 10, and if I want to experiment with Linux or some of the different Unix distros, I can also install those and have them run separately as if they were running on a computer by themselves, right? So VirtualBox is just one of those great tools, right? So I can run a Mac operating system, and this is actually how it looks. And this person has 8 operating systems running on his MacBook, right? And this gives you a chance to experiment a little with some of the operating systems and get to learn them, right? The hope is that one of these days we transition out from Microsoft. Microsoft is nice, but it's a paid software, right? And Linux and other distros that are here are open source software. And I always like to promote open source software as opposed to having to deal with a paid software, right? So go give VirtualBox a try, install it, get download some images. You can also look for, let me see if I find a list for you. There are some Linux distros, that is what you would search for. And these are all the Linux distros available. So there's Ubuntu, Arch Linux, Fedora, Kubuntu, right? So these are actually free for download, and they're actual operating systems that you can use on your computer, right? And keep in mind, operating system is what manages your computer, so it's the first thing you see. And our operating system that we're using here is Windows. Good. So, like I mentioned, guys, I'm keeping tonight fairly short. Right, I'm trying to catch up right now with some work that I have. Um, so I'm gonna end here, right? Computer specification is one I was specific for, but I hope that you found the information useful, right? And feel free to share this information. Um, like always, stay safe, have a blessed night, and go geek yourself.